I am playing in the Maryland Open. It's playing the 2-day section. It's game in 45 plus 30 seconds per move. So this is one of the longest. I think this is the longest time control, or the second longest time control I've played in this calendar year. I'm playing David Greathouse. Sounds good for a realty. And he is. This is his first tournament in 30 years. I didn't know that when I played him. I thought he was actually floored because I thought he was 1800 flat, but apparently this is not his floor. He reached mid 1800s in the 1990s, but he's back at it. He's back at it again. First tournament in a long time, so always glad to see people getting back into chess. I started off with e4, and this is a no engine recap until the very end of this video. Chess.com, I think, puts in the notation, not the notation, the annotations when I first have the engine on, when I'm first doing it. And then when I'm first inputting the game, then I turn off the engine, so whatever. But he plays e4, and I play the good old trusty Caro-Kann. I actually debated, I thought for a couple minutes on the first move because I wasn't sure if I wanted to play the Caro or something else. But this time, I played the Caro, and he played e5. And so I just played bishop g4. I could have also played c5 to try to disincentivize d4, but I just thought, bishop g4, very principled, play e6 next, and then play c5 later. He played c4. So this is already super weird. And my first instinct is to play e6 and just get the triangle set up and just keep the position really solid. But then I realized that d4 is actually really, really nice because usually white wants to play d4 in a lot of these positions to support their e5 pawn. And now I have the idea of going, and also it stops the knight from developing to c3. And I'm starting to take the knight and then play queen a5 check and queen takes e5, which is exactly what happens here. So he plays d3, we trade, I go check, and I win the pawn. And so I'm up a pawn, and I have more space. However, he has the bishop pair, and this pawn could be a little overextended here. And I had an idea here, which is play e6, and to play bishop d6 to threaten checkmate with tempo, and then after g3, then move my queen out of the way to f6, and then maybe d8. So that's kind of the way that I thought, like maybe I'll try to continue to develop this way. So if he castled, bishop d6, g3, queen f6, and if he doesn't trade queens and goes here, I can either, might be able to just honestly go knight d7, and then go knight c5 to kick out the queen. And the queen is like almost trapped, but not exactly. So I thought this would be pretty decent if he allowed me to do it. But that's why after I played e6, he played bishop f4. And my initial thought was to go queen a5 check, and after knight d2, go queen d8, and then go knight f6, bishop d6, and just maintain a pretty solid position. But then after I played he played knight d2, I was like, okay, wait, what if I just play queen b6? Queen b6 also seems pretty decent here. Although, honestly, I did think for a while... I played knight f6 first, and then later I played queen b6. But yeah, I actually thought after bishop d2, queen c7 was also one of the things that could happen as well. So I thought he might move back with his bishop, but it makes a lot of sense that he develops his knight instead. It's very principled. So played knight f6, and I thought for more than 12 minutes on this move. Wait, let me check. I thought for 18 minutes. I thought for 18 minutes on the move knight f6 here, because I was trying to calculate e5. e5 would attack the bishop, and it would stop him from castling. So if he goes bishop g3, and I go knight f6, if he castles, then his knight is just hanging. And if he goes queen e4 to pin the pawn to my king, then I can just play knight d7, and then if you castle, I can go knight f6 probably. And I think this is good for me. I think this is good because if you ever go knight b3, I can always just go queen c7, and both your bishop and queen are hanging. But I thought about other move orders first. Like I thought maybe I go knight d7, and then after castles, go e5, because if he goes here to hang on to his knight, I can go h6 and then win the knight. But then, of course, if I wait for him to castle first and then go e5, well now he can go in knight b3, do that in between move, and then after queen c7 or queen d8, then his bishop is eyeing this. He's threatening knight takes d4 to take advantage of the pin. So it definitely doesn't feel very happy to like this e5 pawn seems like a weakness. I feel a bit overextended. So I was trying to figure out what setup I wanted to do, and after thinking for 18 minutes, I didn't want to go for a setup that where e5 was there. I also thought about like playing e5 now, and then if he goes back, I'll go bishop e4, and if he goes rook d1, now now he's kind of stuck. I also thought about calculating what if he castles first, and I determined he cannot castle after calculating for a while. So rook d1 makes a lot of sense here. But the issue is for me, like if I take this a2 pawn, because now the a2 pawn is hanging, both my knights and both my rooks are still on the starting squares, and this is just very, very unprincipled. If I take, he can take the pawn on e5, and if I take the pawn on b2 to defend my d4 pawn, he can just castle. I guess he can't castle now. So I guess actually, after queen takes a2, he would have to castle now. And then if I take here, I could probably just go knight d4, or knight e4. And maybe this is okay. I am up 3 pawns. But I did have a lot of trouble calculating or evaluating this position. I just seem so underdeveloped here, but I actually might be okay. Actually, this bishop is really loose on b5. So if I go like knight e7, rook b1 here, rook a1 here, and I can't stay tethered to the defense of my bishop. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't go for some of these more crazy stuff. But I told me like this wasn't good. This wasn't good. So I just, after 18 minutes, I just played a very normal move that I could have spent 2 seconds on. And then he castled. I went bishop e7. And now I went knight b3. Now I went queen b6. So originally I thought I might go queen d8. So this is what I was trying to say earlier. But then like maybe I don't have c5 as easily because the pawn on b7 would be hanging. So if I go queen b6, well now, he can never push this a pawn because the knight is hanging. And I defend on d4, and now I'm supporting c5, so I can play. So in an ideal world, to play rook e1, I'll play c5, and then maybe he'll centralize his other rook. I don't know, or play bishop f1, and then I can play knight c6, and he really doesn't have any compensation for being down a pawn at all. He plays a very interesting move, very very quickly. He plays bishop d2, with the idea that if I castle or do anything else, my queen is trapped on b6. Although my queen is not trapped. I can go to a6. But then I lose the pawn. Oh, wait, no. I don't lose the pawn on d4. So maybe I could have just castled and put my queen on a6, because it's not that bad. I can play b6 next, and then c5. Oh, wait. I can't play b6 immediately. I can't play b6 and c5 immediately. I have to develop my knight first and then go b6 and c5. But point still stands. Yeah, this is probably really decent. This is actually probably the alternative approach I should have taken, because this does not look bad at all for me. So I probably overcomplicated it, because after bishop d2, I played a5. So the idea is that like if he takes, now I get 2 pieces for the rook, and this is just very much better for me. So he plays queen f4, which is an extremely, honestly, a pretty cool move, because now if I castle, he can take on d4. And I've lost my pawn advantage, and but it's probably just an okay position, equal pawns, but he does have the bishop pair, and if he can get his pawn to d4 successfully, he's probably going to be a-okay, probably slightly better in this position. So queen f4 is really really interesting, and it's also threatening. Like if I play c5 to solidify my center, he's threatening bishop takes a5, because if I take, then after he takes and I takes, the knight on b8 is hanging. So my rook is like me when I eat too many tacos, it's overloaded. so so after queen f4, I decided to play a4. And the idea is that, like, yes, I'm giving away this pawn on d4, but I'm just going to continue development very nicely. Why did I play this move? I think if knight takes d4, I was going to play knight d7, threatening a fork with e5. And if knight f3, maybe just take this pawn on b2 at some point, either now or in the future. I don't actually remember why because I think a4. I think I am just literally giving the pawn back. And I think, and at this point, I thought a long time on a4 as well. So on move 15, on a4, okay, I have 20 minutes. So I actually didn't play that slowly, but I thought for 4 minutes on a4, and I think I was just giving the pawn back because I needed to finish development. So a complete failure on my part. I really should not have gone to this a5, a4 maneuver. I should have just played queen a6. And just finish development. But so actually now I realize I made that mistake. So that's cool. But after a4, he plays really crazily. He plays bishop a5 here, attacking my queen. He played it very emphatically, as if it was winning. But I just played queen a6, and now this knight cannot move because the bishop would be hanging. And yeah, so there's not much to do here. So he plays bishop c7, and I have another big decision to make. And at first I thought, oh, I'm just going to take. That was my immediate reaction. And if you take back, it's discovered attack against my queen, then of course I can just sacrifice for the 2 rooks. And after bishop f1, then go knight d7, and now I'm just up. I have the 2 pieces for the queen, and I'm up a piece. Up a minor piece, so it's just clearly winning here. But then I actually started thinking a bit more, like, okay, well, if I take on b3, he takes on b8, I castle attacking the bishop, he goes bishop e5 attacking d4, and I can only defend one of these pawns. If I go, well, actually, he doesn't have to do it. He could go a takes b3, and now if I sacrifice my queen for the 2 rooks, material is, slightly better for me. So that's bishop f1, but I didn't see a clear. It looked unclear to me. He has the bishop pair. This pawn is hanging. I could play c5, but I just thought like he might just go bishop d6. And after I take and he takes, my pawn's under attack. Under attacked. It is being attacked, and if I try to defend, my position felt a bit loose. Looking in hindsight, it doesn't look that bad. In hindsight, like maybe after queen b6, it looks annoying. And it just doesn't feel like this position did not feel clear to me at all. But this was probably better for black, maybe just straight up winning. But I had a hard time evaluating this, and I was like, is this really the best idea? And then I came across the idea, like after he takes my knight on b8, so this did happen in the game, I'm going to take the pawn on a2. Now, of course, what if I don't do that? What if I just, after bishop c7, just castle immediately? Well, now he takes the pawn on d4, and I was like, is this really the best I can do? Now after knight d7, I'm not threatening e5. He can rotate back and get d4 in, and then his bishop x-rays my queen, which I don't know how much that is worth, but it's worth something. And so I really wasn't sure about this. I didn't feel like I was better at all if I just develop my knight or castle. So that's why I did take the knight, and as he takes my knight, I took his pawn. So now I'm actually up 2 pawns here, and the reason why I decided to go for this was because he cannot take my d4 pawn because his bishop on b8 is hanging. So after I realized he could not take my d4 pawn, that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna go for a takes b3 and b takes a2. So then he goes bishop d6, trying to trade bishops, and maybe take the pawn on d4. But I play c5, solidifying my center here. He takes, my king's in the center, but my knight is a great defender. It blocks the checks, defends my pawn, and I am a-okay here. He attacks my b7 pawn with his bishop. I defend, and then he centralizes a rook. And now I force a queen trade with queen d6 here. His queen cannot go anywhere because of my rooks. And so I think instead of that move, I was expecting him to play queen g3, attacking g7, and I'm going to play king f8. So that's why I played the h rook to b8 to defend. Even though my rook is a little bit stuck on the corner on a8, it's actually really useful on a8 since it defends the pawn on a2, and I wanted to get my rook out of the corner so I can beat queen g3 with king f8. And I felt pretty good about this position. Although in this specific position, okay, no, my queen guards d6 actually. So I can't offer a queen trade with queen d6 if you went queen g3. However, this position is a-okay for me. It's not bad at all. So I force a queen trade. He plays b3 because he wants to go rook e2 and take the pawn on a2. If he gets this trade in, if I just lose this pawn on a2
for nothing, it's going to be really difficult to win this game because where's my extra pawn? My extra pawn is this e pawn, and it is very far from being a passed pawn. It's not a very strong pawn, so I have to show something for my efforts. But I felt pretty confident in this position because I just played 95. 95 attacking the pawn. If you go bishop e4, putting your bishop in front of the pawns. Now the bishop and pawn defend each other is a very good combo. I just play f5, and there's not much you can do. If you go back, I can double your pawns like that, or I can just take a free pawn and play e5, e4 next, and I'm doing quite well here. So he plays bishop e2 after I play 95, but so now he cannot put his rook on e2 to attack my pawn, and now I'm just able to double up on the a file here, and he goes f4 here, attacking my knight. So we're moving my knight so then he can use his bishop to defend. Okay, wait, he doesn't play bishop d1 yet, because if I do take, then he takes the a2 pawn, and that's a good trade for him since he's very much on the back foot already. But I don't want to liquidate. So after g4, I don't take the pawn on b3. I played knight b4 first. So I rerouted. I played knight e5, but then I went to c6 and then b4. So very nice reroute. So now I defend my a2 pawn one more time. So now I'm threatening b3 for reals now, and he plays bishop d1 to defend, but that undefends the d3 pawn. If he didn't do that, and played a move like king f2, I might not even take the b3 pawn. I might just double up first. The world is my oyster in this case, and oysters are pretty good. So he plays bishop d1, I take, and now he finally gets his rook to e2. He accepts the fact that I can take on f4 because he wants to take on a2, but I defend. And now he plays f5, and if you count the material, I still have 8 pawns, and he has 5, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I have not traded a single pawn, but I have 2 passed pawns, which which is a feels good moment. I do not trade. I could have traded, but I thought there might be a scenario maybe where I want to get my knight to f4, and this e5 pawn solidifies my knight, and also I can just push e4 and e3 potentially in the future as well. So my pawn on e5 is way better than his pawn on f5. So why would I want to trade it? I don't think I really need to at all. So he goes bishop c2, I go knight b4, he goes back, so I'm on my ideal square of knight b4, and here I have a very simple idea. After knight b4, I thought he might go rook d2 to guard against the d3 pawn push, and then I could probably just push my pawn anyways, and play e4, and get a position similar to what happened in the game, but instead of that, he went bishop d1, then I put d3, and then e4, and then I brought my king in, and when deciding to go for this transformation of the position, where I would go, d3 and e5 and e4, I decided what I was gonna do. I'm gonna play. And at this point, I have 5 minutes. I had 8 minutes and below for the past 20 moves. Not 20 moves, more 15 moves or so. Since move 18, I had 8 minutes, and now it's move 35. So I've been playing on the increment for the most part. I decided I was going to play f6, h6, and then play rook d8, so I'm trying to limit any counterplay. I know that most likely, knight c2 at any point is probably winning. After bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, rook takes with check, king back. There is almost no scenarios where this position is not winning, but why do that when I can make my opponent suffer even longer? So rook d8, and he can't move his rook, he can't move his bishop, if he moves his king, then I get in with my king, and I'm sneaking in on the dark squares all the way to a1, and I'm almost, e3 is a threat too, so it's really bad news bears. So he has to move his rook, so he moves rook f2, but now I give up my d pawn because I get my king in, and there's simply nothing you can do. So he can go king c1 to try to guard his queen side, but if he does that, then I'm just gonna mosey on. I'm gonna play e3 and just play maybe king d3 next. I can even play king d3 right now after king c1 and just go you still have no bishop moves, no rook moves, and no king moves. You actually, but it's not stalemate because they're illegal moves, but they're just not good. And I was just gonna push my pawn to victory. So he doesn't like that. So he goes king e2, but now I just go king c3, king b2, and he gives up his rook because it's trapped. And yeah, I take with the knight because after he takes my pawn, there's a fork. He told me during the game that that was a good move, and I was like, thank you. Um, I mean, at this point, he knows he's lost, and he's just playing moves just to play moves. After g5, I could take, but why respond to his moves when I don't have to? And I just take the pawn on b3, and he resigns. So definitely a feel-good game, and a good start for me because I think I showed some maturity. Back when I was 1600 or below, maybe I would play a move that I calculate for 20 minutes. But in this case, I'm not playing moves that I don't think are good. Even if I calculate for 20 minutes, if I don't think it's good, I'm not playing it. So I think that's a good sign. I think that's good. Good practice not to play bad moves. Something I strive to do. And so now there's about 45 minutes till the next round, or more like 30 minutes until the next round. So I will try to win this next one and start the tournament with 2-0. We'll see how that works. I think I'm the fifth seed in the tournament, or in the section. It's a U2000 section. So I'm probably the fifth or sixth seed, so we'll see. I'm going to hit the game review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.